Alright, so you already read the title. We're going to be making a character rig from complete scratch in Blender, and let's go. Prerequisites, you probably should know how to use Blender and know the basics, and that's probably it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this. Actually, let me start with some of this going so you guys can see what I'm doing. So we're gonna make something really boxy. Um, and I'm going to take this, I'm gonna move it out, and this we're gonna start with the lower legs, which is probably not the absolute most ideal thing. And I'm gonna give it a bit of bend because that's gonna help us later when we do inverse kinematics. And I'm gonna add a modifier to mirror it. Where, if I can remember where mirror is, there's mirror. And I'm going to add a empty plane axis in the middle for us to mirror this around, so that way it's got some kind of reference point. And then from there, I'm just going to keep duplicating some objects up. And just make what will probably be about a person, humanoid-ish. And now I'm going to go on to the feet. Get clear rotation. Create the feet. So now we got some feetsies. A lot of this stuff. The blocking, if you want to go further later and start sculpting, this blocking stage is definitely going to help you out because then you can actually have a real base to work with. I'm going to actually select this and make sure my cursor, actually reset cursor, and I'm going to add just another cube, and this one is going to be really lower body. So we got our lower body. What comes after the lower body is, of course, the upper body. And then we're now for the upper body is probably going to be a little bit higher up. The fun part, the neck and the arms. So for the neck, we're going to keep still to the same blocking style. You can, of course, add a cylinder, but I'm just going to keep it with the cube. And then finally, cube head. Proportions wise, it's mostly a feel thing. I guess like looking at a person for a long time, you kind of get used to this stuff. So I'm going through now and I'm going to give it just like some small little details. Maybe like, you know, scale it somewhere, give it some depth. And that should do it for torso bits. So now we move on to the fun part, which is the arms. Now, you can be a psychopath and spend absolutely all your time trying to make fingers, or you're gonna do, or you can do what I'm gonna be doing. My arm, and instead use just some boxes. And once again, we're going to mirror along that center. So now if we actually move the center, you can see that that point is going to start moving, but we want to keep it in the center. Duplicate it. Got some arms. Now we can generally do is to like check our proportions. Just rotate down a little bit. Does that seem normal? If it does not, then scale it a little bit. Check it again. Seems fine enough to me. So now I'm going to move on to the hands. So shrink it down, extend. Note this is all in real time. Alright, and that's like, I'm also going to add some edge loops through here so that way it can bend later in the future. And once again, because I didn't duplicate it from the past, I need to reapply mirror modifier. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm also going to add a thumb. Now, this is probably also a good part where you should physically look at your own hand and try to see, like, you know, oh wait, where does the thumb actually go? And the thumb goes on this side. So, shaping it, moving it around. And I'd say that's probably a pretty good thumb. It'll manage for this. So there's our character now. That's probably it. That would probably also be a good time to save. I'm gonna go ahead. Now let's see. So there's that. That would be a good time to save. And now, of course, since this is the rigging tutorial, we should probably actually get doing some rigging. So I'm going to create a single bone armature and begin to start putting this out. Now, how we're going to do this is another thing to do before I forget is in viewport display of your property, you want to shape in front. What this is going to do is it's going to make it so that way you can see it no matter what. Really helpful for getting inside things. So I'm going to go to here, extrude it up, and get like a basic skeleton system going. So now we've got skeletal system, so stuff is, you know, through the middle. Now for the parts that belong on the sides. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to extrude this down, but I'm going to remove it, disconnect it, so the parent is still, actually, parent is not there right now. Another thing we probably would like to do, I find this useful, is to switch between, so I'm pressing Shift S right now, which is how you can change your selection. So cursor to selected, and then here selection to cursor, which is really like an easy way to ensure that when you do something, it is precise. Like if I extrude here, and I then disconnect the bone, and I move it over, I can then ensure it's in the right spot. And I kind of just get into a flow. So if we actually look, and can't really zoom in much, but on the objects relations, you can see that the parent is there. And if we go into pose mode and start, you know, rotating that around, then it is there. Another thing that is probably really important to do is just reset your cursor at a root node, and we're gonna just name this root. Come up to like the pelvis and put the parent to the root node. What this ensures is that normally you probably want some kind of base that everything else moves off of, and I want this to also be parented off of like a central node here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to extrude this downward slightly, and then set this parent should still be root, and this parent should actually be this. We're going to actually set this to I'm going to call this the pelvic root. To change name, I'm pressing F2, by the way. You can also see my keybinds down there, which is probably helpful. And remember, you can actually go into slow-mo on stuff like this. So if you are always confused, that's what I would do. Now, if we go into pose mode, we can start rotating this, and that's going to rotate everything. We can also move this around, and that's going to be like our general root. All right, almost there. And we're going to keep to the same idea, and I'm going to extrude to about there. Actually, we'll get specifics. And then, cursor to selected, extrude, selection the cursor. Now for this, I'm actually going to take this, extrude on the x-axis, and then disconnect the bone. Take this end to there. And for the hand, because I have multiple points here, we actually do have bendy bone, so I can just put this as a single bone, and we'll do that later. Disconnect the bone. Selection to cursor. If you're doing something that is actually like rigid through like full, it's through the whole thing. I'm actually going to set this bendy bone segment right here. So now there is some bending. On octahedral display on the pose, you actually can't see it, but if we change it to something like envelope looks bad. Let's do B-bone. B-bone. And now you can actually see the 3 individual segments that are created. But I like octahedral, so we're going to keep it like that. And I would like to keep the thumb parented to the hand, to this. So I'm also going to come up here, extrude, disconnect parent, connect to there, and that's that. And set this to have 2 bendy bone segments, because if you see on the actual model, there's 2 segments here, well, there's 3 here. Alright, that's only half the battle, so now we should actually start naming things so we can flip them. So, head, neck, upper, torso. I like using camel case, you can use whatever stuff. Lower torso, shoulder dot, and this is the right shoulder, so you want to do dot R. This is actually going to tell Blender later that we want stuff. Alright, and this, that we can flip it on that side. So, and this is upper arm, nope, wrong, dot R, right, lower arm dot R, hand dot R, thumb dot R, upper leg dot R, lower leg dot R, and we don't need to do the root bone since we already did it. And now for the magical function, I press F3, symmetrize, and there we go. All of our bones are now in place. Oh, I forgot about the foot. Of course I forgot about the foot. Someone is probably already mad about that. Extrude on the y-axis, disconnect the parent bone. Nope. Nope. I'm gonna hide this for a second. Hide this for a second. Then, nope. Darn. Okay, selection. Selection to parent, and now Alt H to unhide. And finally, foot dot R, and finally symmetrize. There we go. That is absolutely everything. Now, here's the basic rig. Now, basic rig's done, we actually need to do the funnest part, which is the weight painting. Weight painting. Also, I'm actually going to take all of our cubes here and I'm going to merge them into. Before I do that, take all of these bits, and since they're individual segments now, I'm going to come over to the mirror and I'm going to apply them all. I can't apply. Right, I can't just select all, so I gotta come over here. Control A is the quick thing to apply. You can also just come down here and hit apply. At the same time, why would you do that? It's just spending more time on yourself. So now we got all of these nice little bones. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to press Control J, and now they're all one object. The reason why we want it as one object is because it's actually way easier to work with, and if you ever want to use this for a game, having a single object is much easier on your GPU. Fun fact of the day. When it comes to Blender, though, stuff is optimized a little bit better. So now what we do is we select the object and then the bone, and then I press Control Tab. Oh, nope, other way around. Bones and then the object, Control Tab, and I want to do weight painting. But before that, I'm actually going to press this and that, Control P, object armature deform with empty groups. Oh, and I'm also going to set cursor to world or oh, nope. Origin to origin 3D cursor, and my cursor's at the world origin. So now this down there, and this should also have its root down there. Now as you can see, I move one, I move everything. So we have a nice fun bit. Okay, fun time now. We want to do weight painting. And I control click a bone, and then I'm actually going to then paint some weights. This is probably the most fun part you're ever gonna have in the entire world. Yep. You also want to make sure that you don't get anything else. Actually, let's do this a different way. Scratch that. I'm going to, since we have everything named, I can press L on here, and since this is a solid object, normally if it was like a smooth thing, you'd actually have to go ahead and do that weight painting for all of your individual bits, but because these are solid boxy bits, I can just assign, hide, and then let's do lower torso now. Press L to select length, assign, H to hide. It's doing foot.r now. Assign, hide, lower leg L, L, assign, hide, and this is the grindy bit. L, assign, hide, pelvic root. Nothing's going to be pelvic root, nothing's on the root. Oops, let's scroll down. Left foot, L, assign, hide, lower leg L, L, assign, hide, upper leg L, L, assign, hide, thumb, left thumb, L, L, assign, hide, hand to L, L, assign, hide, lower arm to L, L, assign, hide, upper arm to L, L, assign, hide, shoulder to L. Nothing's parent to the shoulder right now. Right thumb, L, assign, hide, shoulder L. Nothing's, nope. Hand L, L, assign, hide, lower arm L, assign, hide, upper arm L, assign, hide. Nothing's to the shoulder. Head, L, assign, hide, neck, L, assign, hide. Now everything is hidden, so we know we did everything. Alt H to bring everything back. Now if we go into pose mode, we can start posing this up. But as you can probably tell, this is not the most fun in the world. Also, let's bring back B-Bone. But this is not the most fun in the world, basically. So we want to have things a little bit nicer to move. So this is the part where we start doing inverse kinematics. Inverse kinematics are probably like one thing that's going to make your life so much easier in general. And it's just a godsend. So I enjoy inverse kinematics. Some people don't. Whatever, that's them. Another thing about inverse kinematics is that bones do need to actually be. So the bones do need to be solid. So I'm actually just gonna fill in these gaps here. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go through, and I'm going to fill in these gaps that we had. I'm pressing F. I honestly don't care what they're named right now. Like, I could probably do something actually useful for naming. But, laziness. And besides, it's not like this is supposed to be the best rig in the world. It's supposed to teach you guys how to rig. In fact, if you guys think this is the best rig in the world, then you're deeply, deeply wrong. Just gonna put that out there. Filling in between the gaps doesn't set the parents, so we do need to set parents of stuff. So I see it. It's just called bone. So I'm going to come down to the bone, and I'm going to set its parent to bone. Simple as that. Hand L should be parented to bone 001, bone 001. This is bone 002. I mean, it would be better if I did this to begin with and I planned ahead, but hey, you never actually do plan ahead for these things. Ah. There. Bone 003. Actually, these things do want to be connected. So you do want to check that connected box, because now we do have those fillers and they actually should be connected to each other. Be quite the shame if they weren't. This is bone bone 004 connected. 5 connected. I'm gonna guess. Yep. So I can actually just type 006. It's smart enough. 07. Oop. 07. Now for these super small bones. I'm gonna actually hide this. Oop. Hide this so I can see what I'm doing. So this is 08 connected. 09 connected. Now of course, if you name stuff differently, your mileage may vary. That's 11. So that should be 10. Alright, I'm going to unhide, and we're going to do a quick pose check. Alright, given that that worked, I'm going to kind of guess everything worked. Alright, inverse kinematics. It's what you get on all my character rigs for those of you who've followed me in the crunker or whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I'm going to put a guide. So inverse kinematics has two parts. You have the guide and you have like your swivel, basically. So I'm actually going to plan this in a way. So I'm going to extend this downwards, actually. I'm going to rename this to foot IK targets.r. So this is the inverse kinematic foot target, right side. I'm just going to quick symmetrize. Now, you do want to make sure that there is disconnected. This does need to be a free-floating bone. And this actually needs to not have any parent to it either. So no parent on it either, so it's just a free-floating bone. One thing you might actually think would probably be useful is if we came here and we actually made it a parent to the root bone. So that way when we move the root, everything moves. But if we move like the pelvic root, that would just be the pelvis and the feet would still be fine. So now for the wonderful modifier, I'm actually going to make it so I cannot select this anymore, so that way I can't accidentally misclick it. And that's, I come up here and I make restriction toggles for selected, and I make it not selected. You saw what I did. You guys are intelligent enough, probably. And bone constraint. Fun one. Inverse kinematics. Target is armature. Bone is, of course, the foot IK target R. Simple as that. And we actually want to use the other side of it. So now if we move this around, it's actually doing some crazy things. And you could probably see it's actually recursively going all the way back into the root node. So we actually want to put a specific chain length on it. The chain length is as far back as it'll go in order to try to fix itself. And already, that's looking pretty nice. But furthermore, I actually want to make rotation an influence here. So now we do care about the rotation of it in a way. So the rotation should match the rotation. The foot rotation is going to match the rotation back. Although it would appear gonna try to figure out why. Alright. Actually, I'm gonna make this go backwards. So I'm gonna set cursor, make me go around the cursor, rotate X and 9 degrees. Let's increase chain length by 1, maybe. Alright, scratch that. We are going to use the tail, and we are going to just move this around. So, actually, yeah, take this cursor to selected, rotate around the cursor by 180 degrees. And this has to do with the pole angle. So there is a roll to this. I'm actually going to set to 0. And what the roll does is it alright, the roll sets the amount of rotation on the actual bone. So now you've got some like basic bits to it, but it's trying to match the rotation a lot, so I'm actually going to take the rotation and make it only like half as relevant. Kind of like it would be nice. Alright, now for pull target. So the pull target is another aspect of inverse kinematics. I'm going to call this put IK pull target R. You can always be explicit. It's always better than not. Clear the parent, move it out, make the parent to the root node. Now come down here, armature. What pull target R should be the pull target. And now you gotta, what is probably important is to set a pull angle. What the pull angle ensures is that it's properly doing it. Ugh, I need more. There we go. 5 bone steps because of how I had it. I'm actually just going to turn off rotation. You can rotate this thing manually. We will set it later, actually. We'll do this later. No, actually, let's just do it now. I'm actually going to make it, nah, whatever. I'm like confusing everyone. But now you can kind of see what the pull target does. And this is where setting a proper pull angle is important. I don't know. This bone is being troublesome. I reset rotation. Okay. Pull angle. I guess it shall be -90. And there we go. Now you've kind of got the 2 major aspects of it. It's going to consistently look at this. And oh, one thing I normally do with my rigs as well is I actually don't put the parent here. I actually clear the parent here. The parent for this should actually be that, because what that ensures is if I move the target, the pole comes with it. So now if I like rotate this, the foot kind of rotates with it. Then if you want further foot rotation, you got that. Alright. So that's one side. Now we gotta, of course, do the other, which is fun. Everyone loves this. Alright. I'm actually going to take this. And what we did to it was we first rotated it 90, then came here, then rotated it 180. Now it's flipped all the way around. Pull target should be 0, or roll should be 0. I'm actually just going to symmetrize. The more symmetry you do, the better your rig is going to actually end up in the end. And finally, the part we've all been waiting for, inverse kinematics, target armature. I could put target L, armature. I could pull target this is L. And this is why we use chain length. So 5 iterations. And then the pull angle was -90. You kind of got a pretty basic idea of how this is going to end up going. It's going to try to rotate as little as possible. So let's see. Yeah, so the foot, the hips aren't, the bits aren't bending there. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to limit the rotation here. So I'm going to make it so the rotation is limited on what axis is this? This is the x-axis. All right, rotation on the owner should actually be in local space. Now x, y, doesn't seem to be. All right, so that's that. That's that bit. That's that bit. So it is actually the x that we want. And the order, I do want an XYZ Euler. And we're actually going to set the mode here from quaternion to XYZ Euler. Quaternion, oh boy, it's a bunch of math. I don't have the time to explain. Anyways, quaternion is a 4-dimensional representation of rotation that attempts to prevent gimbal lock, which happens. You can look it up on your own time. This is just rigging. This is very much glossing over a lot of things. But that's good. It means you have a way. Right. So our rotation here. Ew. Let's see what happens if we limit the rotation afterwards. Come up here, rotation. Does some wanky thing, weird things. All right. Here's the fun part of trying to figure out how to fix some problems like this. One way that comes to mind is to have, yeah, we can just have this locked to rotation as well. We have it care about rotation. That kind of fixes our problem to a degree. Now the pull target's broken. Alright. So I'm actually going to go back to our model here and see how these actually aren't aligned. I'm just kind of gonna scale on the x-axis by 0 or rotate, align them on the x-axis. So now they're aligned. I'm also going to shift the knees forward a little bit, like literally a smidge. It just does not want to look forward. Let's see if we can mess with the pole angle. Nope, just doesn't want to go forward. Welcome to recursive issues. Now for this, I'm actually going to, rotation's off. Rotation's off. Interesting. It would appear. Oh, right, because I need to reset what my pull target is. Alright. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to, after this, have a copy rotation on the armatures, put target on the right side, and this should be, that should then work. Copy rotation. sometimes you just kind of mess with this until... Yeah, the rotation does kind of seem to... kind of seem... As you can tell, I don't really deal with rigs that have feet much. I think instead, the better option here is to remove the IK from this bit, and instead put the inverse kinematics this. So foot target R, we're gonna then have to adjust these a bit. I know it's not precise, but we can actually do this precisely. So rotate on the x-axis by 100. Nope. RX 180. And then finally, no, not there. I want there. RX 90 negative. All right. So now you've kind of got that. The foot working-ish. I'm also going to add, of course, the pull target. Pull target. Negative 90. So now we got these two bits. That seems to work way better. So, in summary, I'm actually going to rotate these back. Oop. And they're like that. They're also kind of hidden. We're going to fix that later. But in a nutshell, that works. So, back to what we did. We copied rotation, armature, the foot target on the left side. Alright, so copy the target on the foot target or default. Now what that means is our rotation is perfect. But if we move this out, inverse kinematics, come back, armature target, put IKL, pull target, armature, put IK, pull target L, chain length. Apparently it's going to be 3, which makes sense. Now, finally, if we select this, it's going to try its hardest. Oh, and we also need to set the pull angle, of course, negative 90. So now it'll consistently attempt to look at that, and it will consistently attempt to rotate everything. That's that for feet. Now for the arms, different story. Arms, we're probably going to go about the same route. The arms are going to go to the same IK, and then the hand is going to rotate with it. And as the hand rotates, I'm going to have I'll show you later in a second. So we're going to actually extend this. We're going to make this actually a pretty big node. So that way it's very visible. And this is going to be the... Also, don't forget to clear your parent. You're going to regret it otherwise. I'm going to call this the hand IK target dot, and this is the left side. Symmetrize that. So now we have an R target. Come over here. Oh, we gotta be in pose mode to add bone constraints. Inverse kinematics, target, bone. And IK target, and this is the L target. Chain length. Let's do 3 still. So now we got that. And I normally also would like to add a elbow bone, which is basically just the pull target. So, and then finally, this is called hand ik pull target dot L, symmetrize it again. Then once again, I would like to actually, and no, alright, just parent. I should probably stop thinking so much and just do stuff. Alright. Then finally on this pull target armature. And okay, pull target. This is the left side. Oh, I haven't done that side yet, but we shall in a bit. And this looks like it's about a 180 on it. This goes down. This can come in. Oh, you have to add a slight bend to it. So we're gonna actually take this bone and this bone. Nope, this bone and this bone, and we are actually going to just ever so slightly bend it inwards. There we go. Now it bends properly because it needs to know what direction it should actually continue to bend by to be most optimal. Welcome to algorithms. And there we go. I'm going to once again go ahead, bone constraint, copy rotation, target arm. This is going to be the hand I get target dot L. So now, as you can see, the bendy bone is actually in place and doing what it kind of was supposed to do. It kind of bends. So, but we kind of have a bit of a conundrum here. In order to bend the hand, you have to bend other things. I gotta bend this downwards, and then we gotta put the hand downwards in order to just bend. So another thing we can do is, if you just so desire, you can add an inverse kinematic target at the end for this to have a second bone, which comes off of this, which is probably parented to this in some way. I'm lazy, so I'm not going to. I want this to get more done. I'm also going to take these bones and slightly protrude them out. Bone target. Ooh. Inverse kinematics target armature. And I could target R. Chain length 3. Pull target armature. And I could pull target R. Pull. This pull angle seems to be fine, so we don't have to mess with it. Then final step, bone constraint. Copy rotation, target armature. And target R. We got all that. And then the thumb's kind of its own separate thing. You would be generally moving it on its own accord. So I can, take it on the y-axis, bend that. And you can kind of already start messing around. But this looks pretty ugly. Like, honestly, why would you want to use this in its current state? It's got a bunch of stuff. So here is probably the part that you've been watching this video for. Looking and trying to increase the appearance. So, I'm actually going to put this empty as a parent to the armature object, so that actually we don't really need this empty anymore. I'm going to delete it. It's got no use. That was just for modeling. I'm going to add a mesh, a plane. I'm going to get rid of its face. Nope, I want to get rid of only its face, so the edges still remain. I'm actually going to center select that. You can do that with the slash key, backslash key. Going to take all of this. I'm going to subdivide it once. So now we have these individual bits and segments. I'm going to I'm actually going to duplicate them, duplicate them, duplicate them, duplicate them. Now, let's hope. All right, now we can scale that up, but I want to scale, I want to scale in a very specific way. So scale that up. I have those duplicated bits. Now I should be able to just kind of separate them. So I'm going to move this on the x-axis by negative 0.2, gx 0. What did I actually press? Gx 0.25, negative gx 0.25, gy 0.25, negative, and just kind of go through that. Gy 0.25, gx 0.25, gx negative 0.25, vy 0.25 negative, vy 5, and as you can see, we have this little thing. What's the point of it? Alright, glad you asked. We take here in the pose mode, the bone, we go into the viewport display, custom object, plane. Boom. And I'm actually going to set this rotation here to like 90. And I'm going to set its scale to like, this should be 0. I'll set this like 5. Or actually more like, maybe 3. Yeah. So now, the root bone looks like this. As you can see, I didn't parent my hand, so my root bone, I shall do that. Parent to root bone, keep awesome. So now, root bone, and also you can test the pelvic root. Does this fun thing. We're actually going to make another thing for that. Yes. Move that around. So then I can add in the mesh. I'm actually going to make this a cube. I'm going to make it look like this. I'm going to remove all the faces. And I normally name these as well, so I'm going to call this, helper. I'm going to call this the root helper. Now, of course, you got to come here. Scroll down, custom options. Helps helper. Start moving around. So now you got that a little bit. We still can see the other bones. So for the unimportant bones, what I normally tend to do is you can actually set groupings of layers. So you have layers of things, you can actually hide layers. So so everything's on layer 1 right now, that's fine. Now I'm gonna actually go to layer, I'm actually gonna set some things to layer 2. So things I'm gonna set on layer 2 is going to be anything I kind of want visible. So I would like the person using the rig to see. Like all of these, actually I'm just gonna set anything with these custom bits. Can I move inside? Yep. Move inside, yep. And down here, these relations, I'm gonna hit click on that. It's gonna make it on those one. And then if it comes to major, I just select that. Oh, we have to do one thing, which is we have to come down here, right click it, copy single selected. Now we just got these custom bones shown. And these are the bones. You could call these like the useful bones, right? But that doesn't include the head, neck, and spine. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that. Re-enable that, shift click it, come through here. These are probably going to be important. I'm going to put them onto layer 3. now if we unhide layer 1 and show layer 3, we kind of got everything we want to show. Finally, you can go through and you can probably, put custom items for everything, but this is almost an hour-long tutorial and you're probably bored to death. So I'm going to add a empty plain access. I'm going to call this the custom item folder, hold us, whatever. Take these two things, parent num, this, parent, and that. And this I don't want visible. I don't want to see in render, and same with everything else. So they just don't show up now at all. And that's probably going to conclude this video. Now you know how to make your own custom rig, all the fancy features, all the fancy things. It's kind of the basics of rigging. Then comes the actual fun part where you use the rig, where you actually sell it to someone and they use the rig. And finally, that's the video. All right, bye.